Hi, everyone. Welcome to April's new moon meetup. So let's see here. This is the new moon eclipse or solar eclipse. I just had a notification for somebody that was trying to join, so give me just a second. Of course, it never fails. As soon as I hit record, it's like, help! Hold on. Okay, so we're doing these new moon solar eclipse in Aries. How are we all feeling? Who wants to share what kind of wild BS has been going on in your life right now? Who wants to start?
My emotions have just been all over the place, and my anxiety has made a big reoccurrence this week. And then I don't know. It just I try to like think, okay, well, it's just because of the eclipse and all that, but then I allow myself to get worked up, and then I'm like almost spiraling, and then I have to reel myself back in.
I understand that. I definitely feel that. This eclipse is very intense right now. And the reason it's so intense is because it is in the sign of Aries, which is the feistiest baby of the zodiac, you know? And it's really like one of those where emotions are extra big because just like in children, in babies don't know how to regulate their emotions. So unlike a Sagittarius fire sign, which are going to tell you what like it is, but they'll sit with it, Aries are going to just like big booming emotions. And so when we have this type of intense eclipse energy, it can really, really do that. So whew, it's been rough. Anybody else?
I just agree. It's like chaos. I would be like, oh my gosh, I'm so stressed out and there's so much to do. And then I'll get some done. I'm like, oh, awesome. Now we can just calm down and it's great. And oh my gosh, there's so much stress and so much to do. So it's just been like no happy medium, just a
That's been just my day to day, let
yes.
alone all week. I have sat here, and thanks to my ADHD, I have sat here for probably a good 3.5 hours trying to get these events that I'm doing with there's a new shop in Turkey Creek called Trends of Aluna, and she has been like, please come do some events with us. And I'm so, yeah, sure, let's figure it out. So we have 3 that I have crammed into my April and May. Why I did that, I don't know. And I was trying to get those up and loaded, and they are. So if you guys are interested in any of those, please check them out. But yeah, like today, my ADHD had me all over the place, and I was like, oh my God, I gotta get this done, gotta get this done, gotta get this done. Oh wait, look at my audio book. Let me pay attention to that for a minute. Oh shit, I gotta get back to this. That's just been my day to day, let alone my entire week. So how about everybody else? Anybody else want to share?
I have had the worst executive dysfunction over the past week. I have so much that I need to get done for my vendor events next Saturday and the following. And I literally sat here just last night and stared at all of my stuff for about an hour. And then I scroll on TikTok.
Yeah, I've been there too.
And everything else, forms of communication are not working, no matter what it is. It's just been a fun Mercury in the microwave, but I just made these really cute earrings. They're sloths riding T-Rexes.
I love those so much.
That is so cute.
I love those so much. Hi, Jenny. Welcome in. Anybody else want to share how their energy has been this past week? Jenny, you need to text Lori and tell her we're an hour early.
Yeah, she had some issues today that were not great. So
Okay, well, I'll reach out to her later then. So,
this week has been nuts, like nuts.
yeah. Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the astrology that's kind of happening with that right now. So, Mercury went into retrograde last Monday on April 1st, and Mercury is the planet of communication, technology, like commerce, our mental and our intellect and things like that. So when Mercury goes into retrograde, an astronomy lesson is it looks like it's moving backwards in the sky when really it's just orbiting on the other side of the sun. And so when it's in retrograde for astrology, it means that Mercury is not paying attention to its job here on Earth because it's on the other side of the sun. And so things that it rules over, its energy kind of gets totally discombobulated because it's left us children to our like own devices. And it never fails. The pattern is that when we're left to our own devices, shit gets fucked up. Plain and simple. And so we have issues with misunderstandings, issues with miscommunication, issues with technology going down, issues with money, issues with how we're feeling, that overwhelming sense that all of us have just explained. That's a part of Mercury in retrograde. And look, I have goosebumps, which if you know my psychicness, that's I hit the nail right on the hammer kind of stuff. And so that's all Mercury in retrograde. Hi, Nicole. That's all Mercury in retrograde happening that started this past week. And it will continue for the next 2 weeks or really like 2.5 weeks until the 25th of April. And then we'll have about a week or so of a shadow period where it's still kind of lingering, but it's not going to be as full force as when it's retrograde. But man, oh man, this retrograde is really hitting. But the reason why it's hitting extra hard right now for everybody is because of tomorrow's eclipse. We're right in the middle of eclipse season, which if you were on the last call, that was our full moon eclipse. And the full moon eclipse represents major endings. And it kind of pushes things through in really huge ways. But the solar eclipse, that's a catalyst for major beginnings. This is one of those times where, we've been working through the Moonology book, which I'm going to talk about too. But even in this, it talks about how eclipses are like such an important energetic event that it's almost like quantum jumping. And that's what this book talks about. And if you're not familiar with quantum jumping, it's almost in the sense of like jumping timelines, which we don't really talk a whole lot about here because that's just not my big jam. But when you think about like where we're going and what we're all doing and how we're all waking up, it's that I feel like that's coming more and more into the forefront of things. And so if there is something that you're truly trying to manifest, keep in mind new moons are where we're manifesting, but we do not manifest during eclipse seasons because eclipses are going to do what the fuck they want to do, no matter how hard you wish otherwise. Because these are meant to put you on your path that you've been working towards already and where you want to go. And keep in mind that when you're manifesting, you can work as hard as you want to work towards that manifestation. But if you're not, one, letting go of expectations of who, what, when, where, and how, and two, sitting in the vibration of where you want to be. You can sit here and say that you want to be a millionaire all you want all day long. But if you're not sitting in that energetic field of how to handle that kind of money, you're only going to get so much. And so, because that's my problem is that I'm like, why am I not like we're further along? And it's because I have to remind myself that if I were to be given $1 million today, I wouldn't know what the fuck to do with it. Yeah, Will's like, make it rain. And I'm like, yeah, and then it's wasted in like 3 months' time. So so we have to really work towards like building our energy and our vibrations up so that we can really work through that. But this solar eclipse, like I'm looking at the chart for it, and oh baby, these like planets are lining up. Like pretty much every planet, with the exception of Pluto, is like mid to late Pisces, and then Aries, 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 and then Taurus. So this is another reason why our energy is like extra big, extra like quick to, man, my road rage has been on, like, it's been bad the last couple of days. My horn is getting its use. My birdies are getting to fly, and I'm just like, tweet, tweet, motherfucker. Like, and that's all this Aries energy. And it's just, it's wild. It is wild. So, with me explaining all of that, does that make even more sense with all the shit that you're going through? Like, is there anything you want to add to that? I love seeing all the yeses. Is there anything else that you want to add to that or share your knowledge of eclipse season or what's going on for you?
So I have to say, as the elder fire sign, right now, I swear to God, every Aries in my life, I'm looking at them going, what are you doing? And why is your sign fucking everything up right now? Because I'm like, and it's been that just a habit thing for the past week, is every time things get to that point where it's like, yeah, I feel like Mrs. White in, Clue, flames, flames on the side of my head.
On the
And
side
that's
of my face.
exactly, that's what I'm like, I need a moment. I need a moment. And I step back and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
you're the adult here. Now go. And it's been a whole lot of being like, people say things
Yes.
to me and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give you a minute to rethink that, rephrase it, and say it again. Okay? Okay. And there's been a lot of people going, oh, when I do that sort of thing to them right now, I'm like, it's okay. It's A, an eclipse, B, Mercury's in retrograde. So seriously, it's like being the ass end of an arrow being pulled back by the bow. Because once we hit that solar eclipse, it's going to be like, and away it's going to go. So right now, I'm just like, just hold on, just keep it together, because you're about to go for a trip, and you need to keep it together to go on the trip. So that's pretty much where I have been staying in my lane. Is just keep it together and give people that moment of, I think you might want to rephrase that before I go full on blowing fire at them.
Yes. Absolutely. And some of us, like, depending on where it's going to highlight in our charts, is depending on how it's going to like hit us the most. Like right now, it is in my 4th house. I'm a Capricorn rising, so it's going to be in my 4th house. And that's my house of home. And then the shadow of that is my house of business and my house of career. And so granted, I don't think it's hitting me as hard as what I have seen it hit other people. Because it's been hitting lots of people around me a lot harder. But it's still one of those things where, like, I've watched me and some of my friends really be like, I'm gonna give it a moment before I react. Like, I did not mean to offend. I'm so sorry. Like, you know, and so it's definitely one of those things where that's just how Aries energy is, because Aries is ruled by Mars. And so you have all of these planets that are in the sign of Aries, and Aries is ruled by the one planet that just wants to, like, death to all who, raise their hand to me. And it's like, Lord, help us all right now. Anybody else want to share or add to that?
I wanted to say that the eclipse is so chaotic, and I think, okay,
the last one, about my ring. Yeah, I learned my lesson because it's not steady. And then I wanted to add in that I right now I haven't been feeling angry or like over I don't know. I don't know what word to say. So I kind of feel like out of the group a little bit because normally I'm very jumpy. Normally I'm ready to fight, but recently I have not been. So I don't understand that either if you can like elaborate for people that don't fit into that.
Do you know what your big three are?
Yeah, so I'm a Virgo sun, Aquarius moon, and a Libra rising.
A Libra rising. Okay. So Libra is the exact opposite of Aries. So you are like shadowing that energy right now. And so for those that are Aries, like major placements, it's gonna hit them hardest. Wherever Aries is in your chart, that's where it's gonna kind of hit you. But because you're Libra and you're like mirroring that already, it's kind of giving you that balance you've typically don't have.
Well, thanks.
Is how that I would look at that. So
No, it was like balance I typically don't have. Yeah, I don't have it. So no, thank you for the clarification. That's why I was laughing because I'm like, yeah, I do feel kind of okay right now. So okay, thank you. That's it.
you're welcome. Yeah, all the cardinal signs though, which is going to be Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. So like Nicole with your rising, me with my sun and rising as a Capricorn and stuff. We are going to get hit hardest in, not necessarily hard as in hard, but hardest in like the energy that pushes us forward, if that makes sense. And so those that have cardinal signs, so Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, in their major placement, so Sun, Moon, or Rising, will kind of have that push more so than those that don't have cardinal signs. That doesn't mean that everybody else isn't having some shit luck right now. It just means like that arrow that's being pulled back, we've been pulled back for the last 2.5 years. These are like the last few Aries, Libra eclipses that have been going on for the last, like, I think it's the starting point. We just had a couple of Taurus, Scorpio ones the last few years. So we're like getting pulled back to really kind of sling us forward in some major ways. And so if you know what your rising is, then you would want to follow that to where you find the house that has Aries in it, and go from there. And so Libra would probably be in your 7th house. Or I mean, as a Libra rising, Aries is going to be in your 7th house. And so you're going to probably see more energy expended, or more situations being illuminated in terms of partnerships, whether that's romantic, business, platonic, friendships, that kind of stuff in your house of partnerships. For you, Nicole, on that one. Versus for me, it's like my 4th house because I'm Capricorn rising. So if you know what your rising sign is, follow that through your chart to determine where the eclipse is going to like really illuminate the most for you. Anybody else want to share or add or have any questions? No? Nothing at all?
Okay, I will say one of my best friends is an Aries, and he is going fucking through it. And I kind of warned him. I was like, I'm not specifically him, but I was like, yeah, we got Freddie Mercury drinking a Gatorade on April 1st, and then we got the eclipses, and then all that stuff. And he don't believe in any of it. I'm just like, it's going to get crazy. And then within a week, like this past week, his baby mama OD'd, and his mom is in the hospital with congestive heart failure.
Oh my goodness.
I'm like, buddy, I feel for you the way I can, but I mean, crazy.
That's a major potential ending, but it's also major beginnings where things shift. People think of beginnings as absolute starts, but beginnings is just where things shift into new ways of life, of like having newer knowledge or having to ascertain through newer actions versus like the way that they were. And so that is wild. I know that Lori and her husband, Devin, which if you've done any of our in-person meetings, you know who Devin is. Devin is amazing. Devin is a Libra as well. And so he's having, even though he's mirror opposite, he's also having some shit go on. They both are. And so be sure to kind of keep them in your good energy as they go through their stuff, because it's very not the same, but it is like similar intenseness happening. So so I really want to talk about like what our Moonology book that we worked through so far. Like, look, we're like a quarter of the way through it. I'm like, where the hell has 2024 gone? Like, how are we in April already? You know? But this particular it's a super moon, which makes the energy even more chaotic than if it were just a regular eclipse, but added the fact that it's a supermoon. But keywords and ideas for this lunation is going to be healing, power, second chances, and change making. And even astronomers and people that don't necessarily believe in astrology are talking about the power of this eclipse. They're talking about, like, this is what kills me about those that don't believe in astrology. And they're like, this is such a big event. Like, it's going to be. And I'm like, well, no shit, Sherlock. That's astrology for you. But I digress. Don't believe me. It's not like I don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah, this is definitely some change. Changes are happening in a way that is meant to push us forward in hopes to heal and for us to step into our power. So as Demo was saying, slingshotting us back, that's us stepping into our power. And so I don't know about y'all, but like my last few years have been rough. At least the last year and a half has been like, had me really questioning my what I was doing with my life, what I was doing with the Phat Life, really questioning how my friends and things like that. And now people have shifted and things have shifted in a way that like I'm excited because I can feel that power coming, and I don't know what that looks like for me. I don't know what that like entails necessarily. I'm not saying I've shifted into that millionaire energy just yet. It's coming, but not yet. and like, and just kind of getting in it. So like, I'm hoping that all of us are kind of feeling that, like, even though this is intense and chaotic, that it feels like it's headed in the right direction to some degree. Even some of the most crazy of like, what the fuck is going on kind of situations are usually for the best. And that's what my hope is for everybody in all of this. So, but the book itself is talking about like, this is a time to like jump timelines almost. And so when I talk about sitting in that energy of being a millionaire, and I say millionaire because people think about money, like money makes the world go round. Like, we're in times where money feels less and less, even though supposedly we're all making more and more, you know? And like, that's what kills me is like 10-15 years ago, the amount of money that I'm making now would have me in upper middle class. And right now it's got me in lower to, like, I'm above the poverty line, but I'm also not like in middle class either, you know? So it's just wild and crazy. But this particular piece says, what you want to do is you want to think about what it is where you want to go. What are you manifesting and putting towards? But again, we're not doing our usual. We're just kind of thinking about it, that goal setting, because we're letting this energy flow. And we want to really imagine and visualize and affirmate where it is that we're trying to get to. And so by doing that, you're not just doing it today or tomorrow. You're going to want to do this like on the daily of the type of affirmations that are more than just I ams, because I am affirmations are specific to our root chakra, so at the very base of who we are. But we want to do affirmations that are specific to all the chakras, which, if you're not familiar, is going to be I am, I feel, I know, I love, I speak into existence. I speak, I see it, and then or I know is last. So whatever the solar plexus is, I am, I feel, I do. It's I do. And then I know is at the end. So I am, I feel, I do, I love, I speak, I see, and I know. Those types of affirmations to start with can work your way through all 7 of the chakras and really kind of fully encompass what it is you're trying to make happen. In that aspect. So doing things that can kind of give you that. Yoga meditations right now are going to be even more important to really kind of get grounded and meditate that way. And then really, again, because it's an eclipse season, letting the energy flow. The more you let it flow, the further you can grow. The farther you can grow, the better you will be. The better you will be, the more that you will see. That's my little Dr. Seuss shit that I just pulled out of my butt right now. So tattoo that bitch. I'm just kidding. I am on one today. I don't know what my deal is. We're gonna blame it on the eclipse. But with all of that, share with me what you're feeling, thinking, anything you want to add. I feel like I'm rambling on a soapbox at this point.
I just want to say that I am glad that I have this group. That way I can prepare better for events like this. So at least I know if I'm like the other day, I woke up and I was in a horrible mood, and nothing was working right. I got to work and they're like, "You just having a bad morning?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, everybody at work thinks that I shouldn't have a bad morning because I don't come in till 11. Like, do you think I just wake up at 10:30 and come to work? No, I get up hours before I'm supposed to be here and do shit. And so I can have a bad morning, and I try my best to not go to work with that energy. But some days I just have bad days, and then I can look at my chart and be like, "Oh, this is why." At least now I have something to blame it on, you know.
Yes.
And then I start telling people why, and they just either tune me out or they're like, and then just walk away. Like,
honey, same. Y'all know me. Y'all know I know what I'm talking about. And people that don't realize that I know that I'm talking about, I'll say that kind of stuff too. And they're like, okay. And give me that weird, like, I don't know what to do with you right now. And then hindsight's 2020. And I'm like, if y'all had listened to me to begin with, we wouldn't be in this situation.
These are the same people that listen to you say that and go, "Oh yeah, sure, whatever," because same. And then like 3 days later, like, "You would not believe what happened to me," and I'm like, "Are you fucking for real right now? Did you not hear was it not coming through? Did you? You know what? Some days I'm like, I feel like I should just write a memo of what I've told somebody, send it to them along with an invoice that they can pay the day after it actually happens."
Yes. Oh my gosh. I even had a situation at work where I have a coworker that is, when Mercury goes into retrograde, it never fails. The amount of just nothing clicks. And so the miscommunications and the misunderstandings happen all the time, but in retrograde, it becomes bigger mountains out of molehills because of that. And I shit you not, I told her, I was like, "Hey, this customer needs a phone call about their rates." And she was like, what rates? What do you mean rates? Like, what is this? This doesn't make any sense to me. And I'm like, you've been doing your job for 10 years, and this is a common question. Why are you confused? And she said something, and I said, no, that's the old stuff. That's that's the new stuff. That's not the old stuff, or whatever I said. And she went, no. And I went, silent. And my other coworker said, your silence was deafening. And I said, that's because I was pulling my receipts. And as soon as I had the receipt, I said, come here. Showed her everything. And I was like, we're not doing that. Because me and her have been known to butt heads quite a bit. She's super sweet, but we butt heads quite a bit. And so I hold receipts and lay them out very nicely for her whenever I need to. But she went no, and I just went. And I was just like, "What are you kidding me right now? Like, what the hell? This is something that you are asked of every single day. Why are you confused?" And it's Mercury retrograde. It happens every retrograde. Some of her biggest like issues or blow ups or whatever it may be, almost guaranteed to always happen during retrograde. And I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, what is this? I'm not surprised anymore, but I am like flabbergasted sometimes at just the sheer like, I don't know what the word is for that. You know what I'm saying?
Consistency.
Yes. Yes. But astrology doesn't surprise me because the whole point is that astrology is the patterns of what happens when the planets do their thing. So it's just wild and crazy. But anybody else want to share or add to it before we go into our shadow for the month?
One of these
So-
days.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay. One of these days when things just aren't going like they usually are, I'm going to learn to look back at the chart because this week I've had a client who's like, "Oh yeah, well, I want to talk to you about how to do this." I'm like, "Well, it's pretty simple. This is how you do the system." Like blah blah blah. And so then she's like, "Okay, cool, I'll let you do it, but I won't let you do it, but I'll ask why you didn't do it even though I did it." And I'm like, "What? Hold on." And then last week she's like, "Yeah, I just want to call about it." And I'm like, "Why? No one ever asked me this many questions. Like, it just gets done, and why do we have to talk about this all the time?" Whole miscommunicating thing.
Yep.
So.
Retrograde. Oh my goodness. Well, hopefully she'll like simmer down here in the next couple weeks. So, Christy, what were you gonna say?
So earlier you were saying it gives Libra a balance. So I got ever criticism at work. Well, it wasn't really criticism. It was, hey, you've been making this mistake. But the way that my boss handled it, it was just, hey, we noticed that you're doing this. Going forward, make sure you do it this way. And it was just I've never had that before, and I appreciated it because most of the time in jobs I've had previously, they would get mad that I was making the mistake, or they would let me continue to make it without correcting me. And then they're super mad. If you just tell me I could correct it, we wouldn't be in this position. And this is the first time a boss has ever brought it to my attention, and not in a blaming way either. He was like, hey, we just noticed this going forward. Can you do this? Sure, no problem. I really appreciate you bringing it to my attention. So that was nice.
Yeah. So it gives you that balance a little bit, but like, even though things are chaotic, it still kind of helps you out a little bit in that aspect. So awesome. Anybody else want to share? Jenny, you want to chime in now that it's your second time being here? First time I give you a pass. The second time. If she pops in.
No, I'm good. I'm going through a lot right now, but it has to do with my child, and he's losing his brain right now, and it's a lot, and I feel like I am being more challenged really hard right now because I don't feel that I'm a bad mom, and I'm trying to steer him in the right direction, but he doesn't listen but he's a total Scorpio, and I just can't.
Oh, Scorpios.
And then I'm Cancer, so you can imagine.
Oh, bless y'all's hearts.
Right. Yeah, because as a Cancer, you really want a mother. Like Cancers are like the mothers of the zodiac, so you really want to take care of other people. But those Scorpios, they're like, no, let me do my own thing. And not only that, but in general, because I have this shit with my kid too, where it's because you're mom and mom doesn't know anything. Mom's dumb. Like she's not been through life many years before I've been in this situation, you know, and so even though you have probably better answers for them than most people, it's hard in that aspect. But sometimes it's a matter of like what is meant to happen as far as like say their destiny or whatever that may be, to put them on the path where they're supposed to go. It's hard to watch them go through those lessons, and so I get it. But like this energy is, again, it's going to be intense and chaotic, but we'll eventually all get through it. We're going to push through it. And then by the time we get back around to everything, the next full moon and new moon, we'll start to actually we'll be able to put some magic into it a little bit more than this. When it comes to eclipse season, this is more like batten down the hatches and hold on through the storm kind of thing. And that's exactly what's happening for everybody. So it's rough.
Did you say, sorry,
Oh,
did you say with Libra rising, so it's in my 7th house, and with the eclipse being like the shadow, so like, does that mean that my 7th house should have like more balanced in this time of the eclipse? Or
so being Libra rising, Libras might have a little bit more balance in like, if you're Libra rising, you might have more balance with who you are, how you're feeling about yourself. But your 7th house is what's being illuminated, because your 7th house would be in Aries. So you might be feeling more intenseness or chaos or volatile energy in your 7th house, which is partnerships, whether that be
okay.
romantic, platonic, all the ships. The ships are sailing. Aye, Captain. So Christy was like saluting me, so I was just saluting back. But
Yeah.
so yeah, you might be
Okay, that
feeling,
makes
you and Nicole both might be feeling like in your house of partnerships, it's illuminating more in like intenseness around your ships in whatever aspect those are. So would you say that you feel that that might be the case for you, is like your partnerships in your life are kind of feeling a little extra tense lately?
Yeah, I think some are feeling like better, like more like, fun intense. Then there are some where there's definitely a little more like conflict.
Yeah. Yeah. And it could be either way. Like
Yeah.
like intense doesn't necessarily have to be bad. Like
Yeah.
as a Sagittarius Venus, I like the good kind of intense. Like I get what you're saying. Like
Yeah, just gotta get the emotions to calm down, because like I thought it was just birth control like changing out, but now I'm wondering because it's been just
yeah, and it
yeah,
could be
with
a little bit of both. It could totally be a little
yeah.
bit of both. So, all right, well, let's kind of see what our shadows look like for this month. Last month we had boundaries with oh, what was the other one? Will, tell me off the top of your head. Come on now.
Envy.
What was it?
Envy.
Envy. There we go. I was
Good
gonna
job,
say
Will.
grief, and I knew that wasn't right. Yeah, thanks, Will. Thanks so much. Thanks, Taylor. So we had boundaries.
Okay.
What'd you say?
There's an eclipse happening. Okay, my brain's not working.
I know, that's why I'm asking for myself too. So for the last month, we've been really kind of feeling some highlight in how we're setting our boundaries, whether we're setting boundaries like we're supposed to, or holding them like we're supposed to, or not. And that envy piece was really having you be mindful in the sense of not comparing yourself. Because the shadow of envy causes us to compare ourselves in ways that we start feeling like we're not good enough. Like that imposter syndrome sits in place. Like for me, my rejection sensitive disorder from my ADHD has been on a high alert for the last week or so with my imposter syndrome. And I really have been having to like cancel, that's not true, as I feel like my friendships are like nobody cares, like my community doesn't care. Like I know that that's not true. Like I've had to really work on some coping mechanisms because that stuff, that envy, that shadow of envy was really kind of kicking in. And so thankfully we have these every month to where I could be like, oh, that's the shadow. We've got to cancel. That's not true. Look at this evidence to prove that that's not true so that we can move forward. So continue to work through that. Like that's the whole point of these, is that these shadows are never ending. So even if we pulled something 6 months ago, being mindful of them moving forward is always important. But the whatever we pull for this month, for those that are new, it's just something that maybe you want to keep at the forefront. Like this may be the main focus for the next month in regards to how things come up for you. And so let's just see. Oh, that was a good shuffle. Let's just see how this comes through. Well, I dropped half the deck, so that's not going to work.
You have to do
Yeah,
the shadow work on all of them.
I know, right? But we'll do the last two or whatever pulled up. So we have the prostitute, which we had, 2 months ago? And then we have soldier. So the prostitute is one of those where, how are you selling yourself for everybody else? It does not mean sexually, though it could be. It is more along the lines of how are you giving everyone else pleasure, people pleasing, in a way that is selling yourself out. And so reading that, it says the shadows patterns, this shadow pattern's sole purpose is to keep you out of a state of faith, driving you to take control of everything in your life and not leaving where you are vulnerable to outsider influence. You decide the what, the when, the where, and the how. This pattern takes you out of the flow of the universal creative force when expansion beyond your wildest dreams can happen, and into a state of such tight control that it restricts your abilities to change and grow. So we talk about, like, with that eclipse energy, where we need to let it flow so that we can get pulled back and move forward. This particular thing is like, if you hold on too tight, if you try to control that too much, things get too wild, things get too crazy, and then you miss opportunities to be able to change and grow. The prostitute pattern has you selling yourself for short-term gains and a sense of security to divert you from a huge opportunity where you can finally stretch out those wings and soar the skies of success. So think about that. Think about how you're selling yourself for everyone else's pleasure right now versus focusing on the hard work of what you could do long term. This is a time for you to have faith, deep, trusting faith that you deserve more and the universe wants to give you more. Open up to the flow of prosperity, let go of the need to control everything, and step into faith. Your faith is ultimately and has always been the spiritual law of attraction. You attract who you are. That God, these cards are always on point, because weren't we just talking about earlier in this call how, like, you're not going to become a millionaire unless you have that energy to attract that peace. And that's the same for love. That's the same for material things. That's the same for emotions and self-awareness. Like, out of all the cards that could have flown out or that I had picked up, like, it never freaking fails. They're always on point to what we're talking about. So this particular, the last sentence says, control attracts more things to control, where faith attracts more miracles to believe in. And so that's like such a big piece to think about of like, where if you can let things go and let things flow, you can allow more things to come to you versus like Taylor with your customer or client saying, here, I need to talk to you about all these things because of X, Y, and Z. I've got to control. And you're like, if you would just let me do my thing, I can bring more things to you, you know? And that's kind of what the energy is trying to tell us. But keep in mind that even though we had this card 2 months ago, if I remember correctly, it was kind of by itself or with a different card. It was not with the soldier card. This is the first time I think we're getting the soldier. And so the soldier is, let's see, I march to my own drum beat. I am free. So let's see what it reads. So the soldier says, you prefer a system to follow that supports you and gives you guidance on how to serve and perform. At times, the systems you choose feel restrictive, and there are times when you bless the safety net provided by their rules. Your life has become predictive, only using one toolbox that is familiar to you for resolving your problems. However, it is no longer working for you. It is as if you have a soldier's helmet and a gas mask on, peering through the smoke, only able to see the next step in place your footprint on. You are failing to turn your head and see to the left or of you this off switch of this poisonous gas. Does that make sense? Like how like we're so focused on where like what's right in front of us, which comes back to that short-term stuff with the prostitute, that we're not being open to the flow of new opportunities because we're so like we've been in the shit for so long. Like it doesn't stink as much as what it what it once did, kind of thing. And so this is saying like, let go of whatever indoctrinated, limiting belief you hold on to your own truth. Open up your peripheral vision to look at what else has appeared in your line of vision as your new beginning with a new toolbox, perhaps your own system for you to invent. Your skill of being able to use your single-minded approach and sharp skills and not allowing yourself to be distracted will ensure the dance you start towards your new future will delight and amaze you. Both of these cards are just for this eclipse that's happening. Like, how many of us feel called out right now? I know I do. Both of these cards are saying, like, stop trying to focus on where you've been and really open up your eyes to the bigger picture of where you could be, where it's time to step into the type of energy that you want to be able to hold the life you want. It's time to raise your vibrations in a way that allows you to step into that new timeline of who you want to be, how you're visualizing it, how you're seeing it. Stop looking at it as of this never worked for me in the past, so why would it work now? This is about being in the timeline of like anything is possible. And I believe it. I trust it. I am manifesting it in that way. And so for us to be in this new moon eclipse, the solar eclipse that's happening tomorrow, that everybody, whether they believe in astrology or not, is talking about how intense and how wild and how amazing and everything else is. And then here we are, because I'm going to tell you a little secret. It's all of those things and we know how to wield it, you know? And so being able to use that astrology can really kind of peek into where we're going. So with that, how are you feeling about these cards? Does it kind of scare you to step into this new timeline? You hear that and you're like, what does that mean? Like, or are we feeling overwhelmed? Like, share with me, tell me, give me it all.
So I am getting, and maybe it's just me, but I'm getting such big Elsa let it go vibes right now out of everything that's happening. It's like, seriously, I feel like everything's pointed to, and really not to make it simpler than it should be, but really the three cards paired together with the NB, the prostitute, the soldier, it all boils down to release all your expectations and just go where the flow is taking you. Just go where you're going. And I know that I spend a little too much time planning and plotting, and then that turns into controlling instead of just remaining planning. So I feel definitively called out, and I'm okay with that because I was already paying attention to it. So cool. But the rest of it seems solidly like just let the cards fall where they may, essentially, and just whatever. It's going to be what it's going to be, and I'm going to roll with it, whatever it is. And I, for one, feel like I have been pulled back on this bowstring for so fucking long. If it would please just spring forward, that would be great. I am so ready to stand where I'm supposed to be at this point. I feel like once I get there, I'm going to ingrain my feet solidly into the earth and like be like, bitches, I am here. And I'm going to celebrate it for a good hot second because I'm like, do you know how long I've been waiting to get here? So it feels like, again, something really big coming, but at the same time, it's like I'm ready to accept it with wonderment instead of expectation.
Yes. Yes. And, I was thinking about you as I was reading that too, because you've had all of us, but you specifically came to mind about some of the things that have been going on and how you're like, I'm just going to have faith. And that's what these cards are saying is like, continue to have faith and it will latch through. And, the big thing about like this community is that I don't care what that faith comes from as far as if it's religious or non-religious or whatever. It's still about just connecting to the power of what faith holds and the fellowship of having a community together. Like I don't give a shit if you grew up in any type of religious aspect and what faith means to you, as long as you have it. Like, I just want you to have it so that you can move forward, because that's how we get connected. But yeah, this is very much a let it go, like stop trying so hard and just listen to your intuition as far as where it's telling you to align in. Because if opportunities come up and your first thought is, oh no, I can't do that because that's never worked out for me. We need to cancel, and we need to be like, okay, well, let's see how far I can take this. Like, even if that particular opportunity does not work for you, it could still be a stepping stone into the next opportunity. I can tell you how many times I have failed, because failure is a part of success. The amount of times I have failed in building my community, building this collective, building my makeup business, building my, like, where I am in my regular job, being a mom, it doesn't matter. I have failed so many times, but in those failures come the lessons to learn so that we're a step ahead for the next time. And we're no longer thinking about it in a way of in a way that's like, I'm not there. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like, sorry, my train got derailed. A message popped up. I'm like, wait, what? But yeah, it's no longer like we're not starting new when it happens the next time. We're starting with the lessons we learned from the last time and being able to move forward that way. So anybody else? Sorry, I feel like I've been on a soapbox all night long, but anybody else want to share?
Go ahead.
No, you go.
I was just gonna say I'm right there with Demo. I feel some changes coming, and my Taurus ass. Anytime a change is coming, I'm always like, no, even if I understand why it's coming. But I think recent events and just with all this energy going around, I'm way more receptive to change, and I'm ready for it. I know it's going to be tough. It's not going to be all roses, but I'm ready to move on and get to the next best chapter of my life.
Yes, absolutely. Taylor, what were you gonna say?
Oh, that it's all coming together. The month and the scales and all of that. Especially with like the soldier following suit. Because like I remember this year I wanted to hire someone on. And I did, but I've been hoarding all of the work to myself. And she's like, hey, I can help you. And I'm like, yeah, here's there, you can have that little thread. And then she's like, okay, I'm done. I can help you. And I am overwhelmed with this like yarn knotted mess. And not like this weekend going to the astrology class, and then I did like a sound healing for the first time today. It was so nice. Like just that work-life balance is what I feel like it's still getting at for me. Like hey, let people help you and go remember life. It's not just to work your life away. So that's where I'm at.
Yes.
Delegation is a powerful portion of leadership from your friendly HR person.
I am also bad with delegation because I'm like, I can't trust nobody, you know, that kind of thing. But that comes back to the shadow of trust that we had several months ago of okay, ma'am, you're suffocating yourself because you won't trust, you know, that kind of stuff.
The irony is not lost on me because I tell all my clients, remember, I can help you, give it to me. And now I hired someone and I'm like, oh, this is what it feels like. Okay.
Yeah. It's heavy. But you've got to put it down. Well, I hope you all know how much I care and love y'all. Thank you so much for being supportive of what I'm doing and showing up for yourselves and for each other in this collective. As always, please share with your friends because you never know. Like Lori shared with Jenny, and now Jenny loves me so much. And she's here all the time now, and I love it. So share with your friends, try to get them in because we are the best kept secret. Like when we can actually sit down and work through what's happening in our lives in a way that's non-judgmental, but also makes a lot of sense and go from there. And so keep in mind too that we have our geode hunting event that is member exclusive. I only have 3 tickets left for that. So if you're able to make it and interested, please check that out. And over on the Facebook group, I just added a couple of events as well. And go from there. So we got lots of stuff happening. Coffee meetup, conversations with a psychic. I'll do some astrology readings. Tea party. I've got the tea party happening next week. We only have 10 tickets left on that. So if you're, I think most of y'all have tickets. So I'm going to see you there.
Yeah.
And lots of other things. Retreat coming. I'm so excited. I got so much shit to do. But I will see you all at the next full moon meetup in like 2 weeks. I think the event's in there. And I'll see you next time. Love y'all. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.